Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We're going to start out this hour with an absolute flat-out silly show. It is the premiere of the comedy quiz shows, the original. It Pays to Be Ignorant. This show stars Tom Howard as the quizmaster, and this show originally was broadcast on September 13th, 1950.
Ladies and gentlemen, the DeSoto Plymouth Dealers of America present...
It pays to be ignorant.
Why is a man like a worm?
Because some chicken always gets them.
Pay the man $8.
It pays to be ignorant.
What's the difference between a bad boy and a postage stamp?
One you lick with a stick and the other you stick with a lick.
Pay the man $9 because...
It pays to be ignorant. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to meet your quizmaster, and here he is, the star of our show, Mr. Tom Howard.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stark, and good evening, folks. Another week and another session of that screwy quiz program that reminds you of a gymnasium because it's full of dumbbells. We have a board of experts who are so dumb they think a timetable has 4 legs. First, we have the celebrated author, Mr. Harry McNaughton, who has just written a book entitled The Life of a Plumber, or 20,000 Leaks Under the Sink. But here he is, Mr. Harry McNaughton.
Thank you. I have a poem, Mr. Howard.
You never fail.
Yes, a poem. There was a young lady from Ginter who married a man in the winter. The man's name was Wood, and now, as they should, the Woods have a cute little splinter.
Terrific, that is.
Yeah, he's a chip off the old block.
All right. Next we have a woman who is so old she was refused a guest spot on that radio program, Life Begins at 80. A woman who has nice color in her face, if you like green. Here she is, Miss Lulu McConnell.
Well, Mr. Howard, me and my old man had another fight last night.
You two should charge admission. What is it this time?
Well, he comes over hollering his head off for his supper.
Well, what did you give him?
Oh, I gave him some pudding, then some ice cream, then tapioca pudding, and then some Jell-O.
What's the idea?
I'm deserting him.
You're I wish you'd desert me. Next, you have a man who goes to the post office every day to admire his picture hanging on the wall. A man who has the courage of 9 men, all of them cowards. Here he is, Mr. George Shelton.
Well, you know, Mr. Howard, I'm not feeling so well lately.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. What's the trouble?
Well, when I go to bed every night, all I see is white and black spots in front of my eyes.
You ever see a doctor?
No, only white and black spots.
All right. Well, those are the experts, folks, so if you feel like taking a nap for the next half hour, go right ahead. Here is the first question for the evening. Let's see if we can get an answer. In what town in Pennsylvania did Lincoln make his Gettysburg Address?
Mr. Howard, would you please repeat the question?
What town in Pennsylvania did Lincoln make his Gettysburg Address?
I say, Mr. Howard, this is a history question, isn't it?
That much you have right.
I love history questions. They're so historic.
I see. Do you know Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, Miss McConnell?
No, I don't know anybody in Gettysburg. Never been there.
Never been there.
Nope.
Miss McConnell, do you have to show your ignorance so early?
You mean that thing's showing again?
Never mind. Do you know Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, Mr. Shelton?
No, I don't even know Lincoln.
I see. How about you? Do you know Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, Mr. McNaughton?
I'm sorry I don't, Mr. Howard. I know a swell place on 52nd Street.
Oh, please, you mean to sit there and tell me you'd never heard of Abraham Lincoln, one of our greatest presidents?
Oh, sure, I heard of him, but I didn't know him.
You didn't know?
I didn't even know he lived in Gettysburg.
He didn't live in Gettysburg. He lived in Washington.
Then how did he come to have an address in Gettysburg?
Mr. Sheldon, how can you get so many things wrong in a single day?
I get up early.
All right.
Mr. Howard, tell me, wasn't Mr. Lincoln the man who said you can fool some of the people some of the time and some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool some of the people some of the time?
Mr. McNaughton, you're close. He did say that, but in a different way.
Oh, I see, yes. Do you know what he said, Miss McConnell?
What, who said?
Mr. Lincoln.
No, I never listened to his program.
Miss McConnell, some people grow up and spread good cheer.
Yeah.
You just grew up and spread. The question is, what town in Pennsylvania did Lincoln make his Gettysburg address?
Mr. Howard, where is Gettysburg?
It's Pennsylvania. It's irrelevant.
Irrelevant Pennsylvania. Never heard of it.
Will you cut it out, please?
Is it a large city, Mr. Howard?
Well, I wouldn't want to say it was a large city.
No. Why wouldn't you want to say it's a large city?
Well, it's...
Come on, speak up, man. There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Certainly not. You're among friends.
I mean, you don't have to hide anything, Mr. Howard.
Certainly not, old boy.
I assure you, Mr. Howard, we'll keep it sub rosa. We'll treat it with the utmost confidence.
What is this? This is... Look, Abraham Lincoln, as I said before, was one of our greatest presidents.
Say, was he the president that threw $1 across the river?
No, you're thinking of George Washington.
Well, I know one thing. You couldn't throw $1 across the river now.
Why not?
$1 wouldn't go that far today. Do you know what I paid for a pound of coffee today? I paid 90 cents. 90 cents for a pound of coffee.
Rip.
You certainly are.
Look, the question is about American history. You learned that at school.
You know, Mr. Howard, in school, American history was my favorite subject.
It was? Mm-hmm. All right, can you tell me the date Abraham Lincoln was born?
Why, certainly. He was born February 12th, 1809.
Very good. What happened February the 12th, 1815?
Oh, Lincoln was 6 years old.
Oh, swell.
Did you know when I was 16 years old, I could name all the presidents?
When you were 16 years old, we only had 2. Look. Please. Abraham Lincoln wrote his Gettysburg Address. He wrote his Gettysburg Address while traveling from Washington to Gettysburg on the back of an envelope.
My word, what an odd way to travel. On the back of an envelope? I mean...
Thomas, please, never mind. Like Napoleon, I've met my Waterloo. So let's hear a playoff, will you? Get rid of the whole question.
September 13th, 1950, It Pays to Be Ignorant on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now, with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer.
800-772-6113. 800-772-6113. 800-772-6113. That's 800-772-6113.
Thanks for tuning into Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now more of It Pays to Be Ignorant. September 13th, 1950.
Well, thank you. Thank you, 5 cents. Now, folks, along about this time, we invite a member from our studio audience to of help us out with the show. Who have we this evening, Mr. Stark?
Well, Mr. Howard, we have a gentleman by the name of Mr. Oswald Carlos, and here he is indeed.
Well, good evening, Mr. Carlos. How are you this evening?
Oh, fairly well for an old chap.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. Where are you from, would you care to tell us?
Sterling, New Jersey.
Sterling, New Jersey. Well,
Sterling, New Jersey?
I see.
Well, grease my mattress and wake me up oily.
I see.
I used to work in that town.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was a traffic cop in a sweater factory.
You were a traffic cop in a sweater factory?
I had charge of the pullovers.
Oh,
I see. I might warn you, Mr. Carlos. Is that right, Carlos?
Yes, sir.
I might warn you, pay no attention to what you hear coming from behind you there, because I might ask you, too, have you heard the program before?
Many a time.
You've heard it over in Sterling?
Yes, sir, many a time.
How do you like it?
Very fine.
You like the show?
I do, very much.
No one told you to say that, did they?
Of course not.
I mean, no one sort of twisted your arm or threatened you bodily harm or anything.
No, I enjoy your program very much.
Well?
I always have, too.
Good. Well, I suppose everybody to his taste. Tell me, what are you doing in New York?
Are you taking in the sights?
Please, why do you suppose he came to the program?
Well, is that so?
Yeah.
Why don't you shut up, you skinny old rip?
Thank you.
If you ever put on a fur coat, you'd look like a pipe cleaner.
That's excellent. Excellent, Lou.
Yeah.
You're from Sterling. Have you always lived in Sterling, Mr. Carlos?
The last 40 years.
The last 40 years. Where are you originally from?
From England.
From England. That's what I thought. That's why I asked you. I could tell a little by your dialect. You know, having so many people on this program from week to week, we get quite a few people from England, and I've always tried to make a study of their little accents to tell what part of England they're from. I wonder if I could guess what part you're from. Are you somewhere around Staffordshire?
Absolutely.
You are?
Yes.
Good.
I was born in Staffordshire.
You was born where?
In Staffordshire.
You were born in Staffordshire.
Absolutely.
I got pretty close to it there.
We're very close indeed.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Tell me, what do you do? What do you do in New York? I mean, what are you doing this evening? Over here to take in the sights, as you say? Or
I came especially to see you.
Well, thank you a lot.
And I didn't expect to do this.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Well, anything's liable to happen on this show. So don't be nervous about it, because we have the experts changed to the chairs there. What do you do? What do you do over in Sterling, New Jersey?
Well, I work on the anvil making and forge wrought iron.
Oh, you're in the wrought iron business?
Yeah, in my own little shop.
In your own shop? Isn't
Yes,
that
sir.
grand? I suppose you make... He's a...
Yeah, I'm a
wrought iron.
Oh, wrought iron.
Not like your brother-in-law, not checks.
That's right, he's in steel.
He's in steel, I see. Okay.
Yeah, no.
You make all sorts of those iron fences and those twirls. It's very hard and very intricate work.
I'm not in that kind of business, Miss Howe, but I'm in business.
You're in business?
Yeah, the insurance business. I insure anything at all.
You do?
Yeah, if you're a letter carrier, I insure your feet.
Yeah.
If you're a piano player, I insure your hands.
Uh-huh.
And if you're a singer, I insure your voice.
That's so.
Well, tell me, what have you got for a rumba dancer?
Well, I got a pro...
Never mind. I thought it was about time we heard from you, Mr. McNaughton. Are you married?
I've been married for 10 years.
I wasn't talking to you.
Keep quiet, Mr. McNaughton. Let's hear what the man's got to say.
Are you married, Mr. Carter?
What did he say?
Wait till he gets it out.
I don't know. He hasn't said it yet.
He is married.
He said yes.
Oh.
Yeah, oh.
What were you saying, Mr. McNaughton?
Never mind, please. How long have you been married, Mr. Carlos?
Well, about 7 years the last time.
Oh, the last time?
Yeah.
I see. Well, tell me, have you any family?
Yes, I have a boy.
Does he work making gates, too?
He's an engineer.
Oh, an engineer. How nice. I see. Well, I want to tell you something. It's been very nice having you with us this evening. We've enjoyed this little talk with you.
What's your first name, honey?
What is your first name?
Oswald.
Oswald.
Oswald?
Oswald.
Fancy that.
Yeah.
Well, isn't he a charming gentleman?
Yes.
Oswald. He reminds me of my first husband.
He does.
Yeah, he's a love. He's a oh, if you were very... you can just call him Diesel Engine.
Call you what?
Diesel Engine.
I see.
I got lots of pull.
Yeah. You got lots of drag, too. Will you sit down? Sit down, please. You're rocking the theater here. Before you go, Mr. Costa, would you reach into the cap there that Mr. Stark is holding and pick out a question for us, please? Would you read the question if you don't mind?
I'll be glad to.
Just take your time and read it into our microphone.
What college has the stadium called the Yale Bowl?
Thank you a lot. What college has a stadium called the Yale Bowl?
Mr. Howard, tell me, what's the name of the college?
I'm asking you that.
I know, but I asked you first.
Mr. McNaughton, why don't you take your head out and have it recapped?
I tried to, old boy, but they told me the side walls were no good.
I see. What college has a stadium called the Yale Bowl? Would you know, Mr. Sheldon?
No, I'm afraid not. You see, I don't bowl much.
Well, you have the head for it. Look, the question's about colleges.
Oh, colleges. You know, I was in Harvard.
You were?
Yes, I was in chemistry.
You were. Too bad they ever let you out of the bottle. What college has a stadium called the Yale Bowl? They play football there.
Oh, I just love to go to football games.
Oh, really, Miss McConnell? Do you like the game?
No. I just go to see if the players will make a pass at me. Oh, and I don't want.
Yeah. Please, drop something, Mr. Sheldon. Listen, Miss Carver. I know it was you. We'll have to put some ashes there. Let's get on with the question, please. It's about football.
Yeah,
Football.
I was a girl. I played on the girls' football team.
You played on the girls' football team?
Yeah, I was a fullback.
You were a fullback. Well, to me, you're a drawback. Now, let's get on.
You know, I tried to play football once, but I found out that I had to be a contortionist.
You had to be a contortionist to play football?
I had to be able to run around my own end.
Mr. McNaughton, remind me to shave you some morning when I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Have any of you ever heard of Yale College?
I've heard of William and Mary.
Oh, I knew William before he met Mary.
Oh, please. Well, yeah, stop it and try and answer the question.
Oh, I say, talking about colleges, you know, I spent the best years of my life up at Vassar.
Vassar is a girls' college.
Ah, the best years of my life.
All right.
You know, I knew a girl went to Vassar.
Yeah.
Her name was Lena.
Lena?
Oh, I haven't seen her for years.
Yeah.
And boy, how I miss my Vaseline.
What became of her?
Huh?
I said, what became of her?
Oh, she slipped through my fingers.
Don't worry, folks. Groucho Marx will be back in a few weeks. Let's get on here.
My old man used to go to college. He wore a toothbrush as a fraternity pin.
He wore a toothbrush as a fraternity pin?
Yeah, he went to Colgate.
I'm warning you, Miss McConnell. I can only take so much.
Well, take what you can and leave the rest.
Look. Up in New Haven, Connecticut, there's a college that has a football field called the Yale Bowl. Now, what is the name of that college?
Did you say New Haven, Mr. Howard?
Yes.
That's near Hartford, isn't it?
Yes, it's near Hartford, not very far from New York, about 75 miles from New York. Now, what's the name of the college?
Oh, New York, New Haven, and Hartford.
New York. What? Please. What are you laughing at?
Oh, how he misses his Vaseline.
That's all we can take here. Mr. Stark, step in here and give our nice guest here $24.25 for helping us out. And thank you for being with us.
Mr. Carlos, here you are, sir, and the best of luck to you.
And now, Mr. Stark, who will be as our next guest?
Mr. Howard, we have a very charming young lady. Her name is Miss Eunice Wiles.
Oh, well, fine. How do you do, Miss Wild? How are you this evening?
Fine, thank you, Mr. Howard.
Well, we're very glad to hear that. Where are you from, would you care to say?
New York City.
Oh, right here from New York. Well, good. You know a lot about New York, so I don't have to go any further when you're from New York. We're glad to have a native girl right here with us. How do you happen to be in New York this evening? I mean, how do you happen to be at the broadcast? You just stopped in to see the show?
Just stopped in, yes.
Well, thank you for coming along.
Are you alone, Miss Wilde? Are you alone?
What do you mean? What difference does it make to you if she's alone or not?
Mr. Howard, it's not much fun for the young lady in New York alone, you know.
Uh-huh.
You should have an escort.
I see. And I suppose you would be the escort?
Well,
yeah.
You put it rather bluntly, Mr.
I see.
You better be careful what you say, Mr. McNaughton. Suppose your wife is listening in.
Oh, I fixed that.
Oh.
I took the tubes out of the radio before I left home.
I see.
I also got rid of my antenna.
Oh, you did?
How long has antenna been with you?
Please. How long has antenna been with you? Pay no attention to Mr. McNaughton, Miss Wilde. He's what we call a W.O.W. around here.
What's a W.O.W.?
A worn-out wolf.
All right. As I say, don't let them embarrass you. Tell me, have you ever heard the show before?
Oh, yes, all of the time, Mr. Howard.
Oh, you've heard it many times. Well, we're glad to hear that. I won't have to apologize for the nitwits. Are you married?
No, I'm not. I'm single.
Oh, well, then your husband is not with you if you're not married, naturally. Well, we're very glad to have you. You say you've heard the program before.
Oh, yes, all the time.
Tell me, what do you do for a living?
I'm a receptionist in a textile office.
Oh, in textile. That's cloth and things like
That's
that.
right.
Right? How do you like your work?
Yeah, you felt that all right.
I see. Well, it certainly is nice to have you with us here. How long have you been working textile?
About 4 years.
About 4 years, And you're not married?
No.
I almost got married once, Mr. Howard.
You almost got married?
Yeah.
Almost?
Yeah, I used to meet a very nice girl in the subway every evening.
Yeah.
I was almost going to marry her.
What happened?
Well, you see, she used to get off at 72nd Street, and I used to get off at 84th Street.
Well, why didn't you marry her?
Well, she was below my station.
See, even back in 1950, they were dealing in recycling. Recycled corn. It pays to be ignorant. September 13th, 1950. The conclusion next, along with yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our health care. No doubt. This is why so many people are joining Medishare right now. Medishare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly healthcare costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. Medishare can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. And Medishare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that's worked beautifully for 29 years. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of It Pays to Be Ignorant, September 13th, 1950.
What are you laughing at?
Oh, he misses his cold cream.
Please. Miss Wilde, I'm going to ask you before. We're running a little short on time. So would you reach into the cap there and pick out a question for us as long as you're here? And would you be good enough to read the question if you don't mind? Just read it into our mic.
In the book Robinson Crusoe, what was the name of the leading character?
Thank you. In the book Robinson Crusoe, what was the name of the leading character?
Mr. Howard, isn't this a question about books?
Yes, it is.
I'm writing a book now, you know.
It is.
I'm writing a book. It's a sequel to The Naked City.
A sequel to The Naked City?
Yes, it's called Bear Mountain.
Please. In the book Robinson Crusoe, what was the name of the leading character? Any schoolboy should know the answer.
But I never went to school, Mr. Howard.
I know that.
I started right at college.
You started right in at college?
Why bother with the middleman?
Oh, I see. What college did you ever go to?
I don't remember. It was either Penn State or State Penn.
Yeah.
I know they didn't use names for the students, just numbers.
Just numbers.
Well, what did you go to college for, Mr. Shelton?
To get polish.
Well, where is it?
I drank it.
Yes.
You know, speaking about polish, my grandfather had a sad death. He died from drinking shellac.
He died from drinking shellac?
Yeah, but he had a fine finish.
He had... Look, please. The story of Robinson Crusoe is about a man who, at the age of 13, ran away from home and went to sea. He was shipwrecked on a barren island on which lived nothing but cannibals.
Oh, I knew a cannibal's daughter once.
You did?
Yeah, you know the funny thing about her? She liked the boys better when they were stewed.
Please, Mr. Sheldon.
How did this man manage to live, Mr. Howard?
He lived off the animals on the island.
Oh, my, lived off of poor little animals. Was he able to support himself?
Ah, please, that's silly. He trapped the animals and used them for food.
Mr. Howard, tell me, you say this man was shipwrecked.
Yeah.
Well, how did he get to the island in the first place?
He made a raft with his bare hands.
Must be awfully hard to make a raft out of bare hands. Well, of course, he had the nails.
He had the nails.
They were right at the end. No, they were right at the end of his palm.
Never mind. Let's get on with this thing. He had the nails. One day, while strolling around the island, he saw smoke.
The island must have been on fire.
I see.
Maybe it was Fire Island.
All right. The smoke was coming over a hill, so he climbed up the hill, and what do you suppose he saw?
The other side of the hill.
Please, he saw fire.
He did? You know, I'll bet that's where the smoke was coming from.
Miss McNaughton, you're wonderful. Your deductions are wonderful.
Not only that, they're repulsive.
They were cannibals. Cannibals was dancing around this fire.
Oh, cannibals?
Yes.
Ooh. I thought they were mosquitoes because they bite worse than mosquitoes.
Okay, in the middle of these cannibals, there was a man.
Who was the man?
The man was Friday.
I know, but who was the man?
I told you, Friday.
What are you talking about? I didn't see you Friday.
Isn't it? The cannibals were dancing around Friday.
Don't you see, Miss McConnell? The cannibals were dancing on Friday.
I don't care what day they were dancing. Who was the man?
Please, they were dancing around this man. They were getting ready to eat him.
Eat who?
They were going to eat Friday.
You mean they only eat on Friday? I bet they had fish for dinner.
Say, you know, that's a funny thing. I had fish today.
You did?
Yeah, I had a fried tomato.
What's the matter?
Nothing. What's the matter with you?
Let's get on here. You guys are making this thing worse.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
Is it
much
possible
worse.
How big a fellow was this Robinson
He was
Crusoe?
6 feet tall, so when he saw this horrible thing, he stopped short.
How could he stop short if he was 6 feet tall?
But who was the man?
Please, he was Robinson Crusoe's man, Friday.
Well, whose man was he the rest of the week?
Let's go. Mr. Stark, will you step in here and give our honored guest $25 for helping us out? Well, folks, the clock is sort of against us at this time, so we'll have to call it quits for this week, but we'll be back with you again next week if we're spared. Same time, same station. Try and be with us. Thank you for listening tonight. This is Tom Howard saying good night and good nonsense.
Be sure to tune in again next Wednesday night at this time for A Page to be Ignorant, presented by the more than 3,000 DeSoto Plymouth dealers of America. And remember, all dealers who sell DeSoto also sell Plymouth, 2 great cars, both products of the Chrysler Corporation. This is Richard Stark signing off with a reminder about good highway habits from the National Safety Council. Always take it easy when passing parked cars. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
They just ran right off at the end there, didn't they? September 13th, 1950. It Pays to be Ignorant on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
It's a big, bold story set in the heartland of America, along the edge of Lonely Mountain. I am open for business. And so Big William Gorgon, played by handsome Michael James, fiercely set down his Midwest roots.
Oh, darling, we're going to sell bathrobes and raise chickens.
Set his adoring wife, Wilhelmina, portrayed by beautiful Glenda Olsen.
Oh, I love our store, Will.
But they hadn't counted on Big Ralph's bathrobes and cattle store coming to town.
Oh, Will, what will we do, Will?
Will had a plan, a way of facing off against tough Big Ralph. We're going to change the face of America. We're going to advertise.
Adver what?
With print, broadcasting, and bus benches, we're going to tell people who we are and where we are.
What's a bus?
And so the story of how one man brought advertising to the heartland.
Oh, will it work?
It will. Well, my name ain't Will, Wilhelmina. You got to advertise or we'll die. And so the greatest marketing story of all time is here. Advertise or die, dopey.
Put your message on this national advertising platform. Email classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Part 4, the 5-part yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Confidential Matter. This was originally broadcast September 13th, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
This is Capitan Garcia Ramullo of the Panama Federal Police.
Good. Your sergeant said he could locate you in a matter of minutes.
I am never lost from contact, senor. You have talked with the beautiful tourista, no?
I have talked with her, yes, and I ended up getting socked in the jaw.
These Americano women are so very much athletics.
No, she didn't hit me. It was a guy who was hiding out in a closet.
See, I understand, senor.
Somehow I doubt it. Look, Garcia, it was the man I came down here to question her about. I'm sure of it.
But, senor, you have told me...
Yeah, I know. Apparently his death was faked. I think he's here, hiding out somewhere in Panama City. Do you think you can find him?
When my men make the search, senor, even a little dog could not escape.
Then go to it. His name is Ed Morgan, but he may be using another one. The charge is embezzlement.
You know his description, senor?
I ought to. He's been one of my best friends for years.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. From Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location Panama. To the Home Office, Eternity Mutual Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the confidential matter. Expense account continued. Item 14, $12.85. Telegram to Hartford, advising them that the case had turned in a completely new direction. I'd taken the case with the idea of digging up a man's past. A man who had been one of my best friends. Of finding out why, after a life of complete honesty and loyalty to his company, he had suddenly gone wrong and embezzled $80,000. I'd found out that part of the why was probably a lovely young widow named Nicky Barrett. But I'd found out more. The man we'd thought dead, who'd supposedly drowned when his car went off a cliff into the Pacific Ocean, was still alive. So now it was a matter of filing charges, requesting extradition from Panama, and, of course, capturing the fugitive. That I left to Captain Garcia for the moment and went to bed. When I came down to breakfast the next morning, I still hadn't heard back from Garcia. But I did get a return engagement from my little playmate of the night before.
Good morning, Johnny.
Oh, well. Good morning, Mrs. Barrett.
I came into town early especially to see you.
Why? A deep concern as to whether I survived that sock in the jaw?
No. No concern, really. I imagine you have a pretty tough jaw. Do you mind if I sit down?
If you promise not to double up your fist.
I can explain that, Johnny.
With all night to think about it? Yeah, I bet you can. How about some breakfast?
I don't really.
They got a special this morning, fried fish and papaya.
Oof.
Tastes even worse than it sounds.
No, I'll just have some coffee.
That we already have. Sugar, cream?
Just black. Thank you.
All right, you're on. Spin it out.
Well, I'll admit it was silly to claim I was the one who hit you last night.
Of course it was silly. I know who hit me.
You don't.
It was Ed Morgan. He was hiding in the closet in your hotel room.
You're wrong, Johnny. You don't mind if I call you Johnny, do you? I mean, you and Ed were such close friends. I feel I almost know you.
You could be wrong, Mrs. Barrett. I used to think I knew Ed until he met you and decided to tap the till for $80,000. All right, call me Johnny if it gives you more confidence in your act.
It's not an act.
Okay, if you didn't hit me and Ed didn't, then who was it?
Let's just say it was a friend.
He wasn't very friendly to me.
He misunderstood your coming there. He shouldn't have been there himself. He's married, and not that I knew it, though, until last night.
That's not a bad attempt, Mrs. Barrett, at a snow job, but I still don't buy it. Better drink your coffee.
Johnny, Ed was drowned in San Francisco when his car ran off into the ocean. He's dead.
How can he be dead in San Francisco and still be turning up cigarettes in Panama?
I did that.
You don't even smoke.
But the man who was there last night does. And I tore the cigarettes in that peculiar way. I picked up the habit from Ed. I just did it absent-mindedly, I guess.
Oh, this gets better as it goes along.
Oh, I'm not lying. It's true.
No, I mean this fish and papaya. I guess you just have to get used to the mixture.
Please, Johnny.
You're not even touching your coffee.
If I drink it, will you please listen to me?
I am listening to you. I just don't believe you.
Look, we all make mistakes. Last night, you made a guess. You thought that was Ed, but you were wrong. So why be stubborn about it and cause a lot of unnecessary trouble? Let's forget it and be friends.
Can't afford it, sweetie. I haven't got that kind of money.
Do you think I sell my friendship?
It cost Ed $80,000 of the company's money.
No.
How much of that did you get? Half of it?
No.
More than half of it?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
How much does he have left now?
Stop it! Stop saying such things.
All right.
Can't you understand once and for all? Ed isn't here. Nor anywhere else. He's dead.
No, he isn't. But I wish to heaven he were.
What do you mean?
Just that.
But he was your friend.
That's right. He was my friend. When I heard about his accident, heard he'd been killed, it hit hard. It hurt plenty. And I guess it hurt even more when I learned he'd been stealing from the company.
Johnny.
So I took the job of digging into the mess and trying to find some answers. I didn't want the job, didn't want any part of it, but I took it anyway. Somebody had to do it. And he had been my friend once. And then I find out he's still alive.
No,
so you see what it means? Now I've got to catch him and take him back to stand trial. And that's going to be even tougher than facing his death and the fact he was a crook.
If Ed were alive, you'd take him back? Help send him to prison like any other common criminal?
That's what he is, isn't he?
But he was your friend.
Oh, skip it. You wouldn't understand.
I might, if you'd let me try.
The only thing you're trying to do, Mrs. Barrett, is to con me into thinking I might possibly be wrong. Thinking maybe it was somebody else in your room last night.
I told
you.
you.
The idea is to throw me off balance just long enough so the two of you can make a run for it. Nice try, only it won't work, so knock it off.
Ed and I were going to be married, Johnny. And the shock of his death...
I said skip it.
Ed used to talk about you. He told me you were this way. Hard and cold and ruthless.
Then he has no excuse. He knew what to expect.
But I didn't believe it. I didn't think anyone could be
Buenos días, senor. Oh, good morning. I don't believe you've met my companion.
I have not been so fortunate, senor.
This is Captain Garcia of the Panama Police, Mrs. Barrett.
Hello.
I'm greatly honored, senor.
Might be a good idea to take a careful look at her, Garcia. You will probably be arresting her in the next day or so as an accomplice to fraud.
Let us hope such regrettable necessity is not happen.
Thank you, Captain. I'm sure it won't. Mr. Dollar has a rather boorish sense of humor.
I comprehend, senor. Mr. Dollar, it is possible perhaps that I speak a little with you?
Yeah, sure. I imagine Mrs. Barrett will be happy to excuse me at this point.
Hasta la vista, senora.
Remember, Johnny, he was your friend.
I did not wish to mention this matter before the senora.
Oh?
I think it's better she is not here.
Hear what? Have you turned up something?
Si, senor. I have to tell you, not even the little dog can hide from Garcia.
So?
We have located this man, Ed Morgan.
I got into the police car with Captain Garcia, and we drove out of town and followed the shoreline for about 6 miles. Then we pulled up near a cluster of rickety wharves built around the edge of a tiny inlet. There were numerous native fishing boats tied against the pilings, but no village, no shacks, nor any other sign of a habitation. Garcia cut the motor and lit a cigarette.
Pues aquí estamos. Here we are, senor.
Here? He's hiding out here?
Si, senor. He lives on one of the little fishing boats which are tied to the wharf. The number 3 one there, which is blue-painted, you see?
Yeah, I see it. Well, a place like this would be safer than a hotel. You're pretty sure it's him?
Pues, Miguel Ronesto, who is on the boat, said this man come out here 1 month ago. He paid Miguel much money just to live on the boat, tie up at shore. And he is like you described, senor. I think so is him.
All right. I'll go on board and talk to him. And I think I'd better go alone, Garcia.
Whatever you wish, senor. I wait for you here.
Okay. Ed? Ed Morgan. Ed? I know you're here, so you might as well answer.
Cabin's unlocked. Come on down.
Been a long time, Ed.
Yeah, it has. Sorry the place is so littered up. Temporary quarters, you understand. Sit down.
Thanks.
Johnny, why did it have to be you?
It had to be somebody, Ed, sooner or later. You should have known that.
But not you. How'd you get onto me?
I traced Mrs. Barrett down here. I thought you were dead until last night.
She wasn't supposed to show here for 6 months. And last week, here she was. Couldn't wait.
Why did you do it, Ed?
You wouldn't understand. You've always had dames crazy about you without lifting a hand. But not me. This face always stopped them. Sure, I used to laugh about it, but... Well, you just wouldn't understand.
And this woman was different, is that it?
Nicky fell as hard as I did. I didn't know women like her even existed. She's for me all the way.
Is she worth the price tag? $80,000?
Cut it, Johnny. It's not that way. It's just that Nicky had always lived well, and I had to live that way, too, in order to be around her. I got in further and further, and finally I was in too deep to pull out.
Did she know you were stealing from the company?
Not at first. The blame's all mine, Johnny, not hers.
You picked your own apple, is that it?
Call it that. And I didn't spend all that money. We decided to get out of the country, start a new life together. I figured I'd need that much.
And Nicky agreed to that plan?
Sure. That's why she's here. She sold out and came on down.
Only she didn't, Ed. She still has her apartment in San Francisco.
You're wrong, Johnny. She sold her furniture, her clothes, everything.
The stuff is all there, Ed. I saw it.
You're lying, Johnny. She pulled stakes. She told me.
Okay, she told you. I guess you know why I'm here.
I know why you think you're here. Hold it, Johnny. Don't move. I've had this gun on you since you came on board.
I know you have. But I wonder if you'd really use it.
Don't try to find out. And don't tell me I'm in a spot. I know that. But I'm going on as far as I can. And if I have to kill to do it, then I'll kill.
Maybe I could have stopped him. Maybe he wouldn't have fired, I don't know. And for one reason or another, I didn't feel much like finding out. I let him go. He backed out of the cabin hatch and bolted it on the outside. I heard him cross the deck and run along the wharf. And I waited for Garcia to call out to challenge him. The only sound was a car motor starting up and speeding away. Then I heard somebody come running down the wharf.
Senor Dollar!
Get the door open, Garcia. Where is he? What happened?
He take the car, senor. It's me to blame. I am not alert. Before I know it...
Never mind. Where's the nearest telephone?
2 miles, senor.
2 miles? How do we get there?
But how else, senor? We walk?
Now, here is our star to tell you about tomorrow's final episode of this week's story.
Tomorrow, fate plays a devil's tune, collects a payment long overdue, and the music ends on a scream. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by Les Crutchfield, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Hugh Brundage speaking.
So Johnny gets a nice walk. From September 13th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Would you thank this station, support their advertisers? Their kindness and courtesy allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. If you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. Our shows are available anytime on our webpage, classicradio.stream. That is classicradio.stream. You can stream our shows, learn more about classic radio collecting. You can also find a list of podcast sites that have our shows available for download. You can also find our social media links, and you can also buy me a coffee. Now, that coffee money does not buy me coffee because I don't drink coffee, but it does help us acquire additional classic radio collections from collectors for us to bring to you here. Thanks for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.